Can we talk for a minute about our Integrating Heart and Mind workshop?
Absolutely. I'm excited. It's coming up in the fall of 2024.
I'm so excited. We changed the format to make it more accessible to people with like work schedules and personal schedules. And so this time we're going to do it 3 hours on a Friday afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at, and 5 hours on Saturday for 2 different weeks in September.
Yeah, it's so great. Like if you're finding yourself stuck in like sticky bad patterns or having communication issues or something like that, or if you want to just like get closer and trust yourself or your partner more, this is the workshop for you.
Yeah, and individuals are welcome, couples are welcome. If you're interested in really thinking through how to serve yourself well inside of your relationships, then we've built a workshop that will support you in finding the ways that are just right for you.
To sign up, head over to our website at whydoesmypartner.com/events.
We hope you'll join us. Welcome to the Why Doesn't My Partner podcast.
I'm Jules.
I'm Vickey.
And I'm Rebecca. We're your hosts. We're also couples therapists and messy humans bumbling through our own relationships every day.
We met through our training and practice of relational life therapy. Between us, we have more than 40 years of experience holding hard relational questions with our clients. We're going to bring those questions here.
And together, we're going to take a stab at answering those questions. This podcast is not a substitute for therapy. If something you hear in this episode stirs something deep within you about your relationship, reach out to a couples therapist in your area.
We'd also love to hear your questions, so don't forget to go over to whydoesmypartner.com and leave us a question of your own. Here's today's question. Today, a listener writes in, when we fight, why does my partner think I'm useless, no good, and unhealthy?
Ooh. I love this question.
Jules loves every question we have, and I sit here and pout because the questions make me sad.
I love the questions because they're getting us to like why it's so hard and what work we have to do to make it better and to get, it's like, do you guys know that book? Oh God, I'm going to forget what it's called. Of course, it's called The All or Nothing Marriage. And I cannot remember for the life of me who wrote it.
Guy out of Chicago. That book. Tell me
about
that
book. Oh my God. Okay. So this is so brilliant. Okay. So one, it's a great book. Like, I don't even clearly I don't know the author personally. I can't even remember his name, but it's a lovely book. And he has in there this like metaphor that he's playing with. He's a marriage and family researcher out of the University of Chicago. And he's doing all this research about like what people are actually experiencing in long-term partnerships. What is it they want? How is it that they're actually experiencing things? So that's like his research, his sociological research. So he wrote this book and he was talking about the Mount Everest marriage. Think of it as like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but in marriage form, right? Mm-hmm. And if what you want is like really high base camps and peak experiences, then you need to train for that. You need to carry your tent and you need to carry your oxygen tanks and you better have been working out. And that's not actually easy.
I love that.
And if you're totally cool with like base camp for marriage, also has great views, but it's not as much work. But I think what we're sold is a utopian idea of marriage
with no work,
without work. And so the second we hit work, do I tell myself bad stories about me, or do I tell myself bad stories about my partner? When it turns out that I got sold a bill of goods by our entire culture that this is supposed to feel easy and amazing if you really found the one.
Yes.
So
if you
found can I slow us down and come back to this question?
Yeah.
All right. So when we fight, why does my partner think I'm useless, no good, and unhealthy? Does your partner think that you're useless, no good, and unhealthy? Or is that the story that you're telling yourself?
And it could be either way.
Right.
Or both and.
Right. It could be both.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It could be that my partner thinks that, but I'm thinking as I heard you talking about this utopia, right? Mm-hmm. I'm thinking also like, well, there's sometimes where like I really look down my nose at my partner, if I'm being honest.
Mhm.
And there's other times where I do it to me.
Right.
Mhm.
I was just
And
gonna
I
say that.
make up
totally.
stories about how my partner's doing it to me or somebody else, right? Like,
Right.
but I'm good at both of
Mhm.
those. And when I'm not healthy, I'm good at both of those.
And I love that you said it like that, because the truth is when I'm in a fight with my partner, some of the inner dialogue about
Mm.
them is this bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, totally. And some of the inner dialogue about me coming from him is probably this bad.
Yeah.
Right. When we're in it. Right. And he could be having a totally fine experience and not actually that stressed. And I could also make up that he's thinking all of these
Yes.
things about me.
Yeah.
So it could be all of
Totally.
the above.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I've called my partner on that before. Like, I know that you're thinking this about me right now. And God bless him, the time that's in my mind right now, he was actually in his relatively healthy place, because he looked at me and he was like, no, really, I'm not. And I don't know that I really owned it right then, but it was totally in my head. I was making it up and I was lashing out at him in defense
Mhm.
of something he was not thinking anyway.
Totally. So, yeah. So we project the story that
Yeah.
we have about, it's like my partner may have a story about me. That's true, because we're meaning making beings. He's not going to stop having a story about me. Right.
Mhm.
But then also I have a story about what his story is
Mhm.
that may or may
Yeah.
not be accurate,
Right.
or it may have been accurate in the past, but it's not accurate anymore. All of that's possible.
Or it was accurate last night and it isn't accurate today.
Right.
Mhm.
Totally.
Any of that, right?
And it is totally normal. I want to validate the call, the
That is
person
totally
who wrote this
normal.
in. It's actually totally normal
Mhm.
that when we are in the heat of it,
Mhm.
that we treat our partners or tell stories to ourselves about our partners, that they are horrible in some way.
Yeah.
It's not weird to do.
No, it's not weird.
Right.
And so if you're experiencing that, it may be because that's what's happening, because it's not that weird.
I think we need to talk a little bit about maybe like our implicit memory system and
Mhm.
why we do this.
Totally. Well, can we drop in the Terry? Terry has a
Please,
name
yeah.
for it. So Terry Real has a name for it that I think is really, really helpful for people. He calls it core negative image. And really what's going on there is the implicit memory system is filtering, how do I protect myself, and all the ways I ever learned to do that from my entire history as a human, through my entire history with you as a human, and all the ways you have protected yourself in the entire time we've been together. And it tells me a very short story
That's a lot of
about,
information.
oh my God, right? But it has
And
to be
it's super
processed.
quick, right?
And
It's
it's super
this
quick.
is-
This is,
Wow.
Yeah.
right. So it has to come up with a shorthand. So it's shorthand, let's say, I was in my partner's like experience of me, right? And he's doing his shorthand, and he might say, well, she's controlling and judgmental. By the way, he wouldn't be completely wrong about that. I can be controlling and judgmental. That is true. That is an accurate statement.
I've never seen controlling. I've actually never seen judgmental either, but I controlling, I don't.
Oh
see
yeah. Oh,
that. Okay.
not
job
as
owning it.
I have been doing a ton of
I
work.
love you, Jules, and I can see it.
Oh, totally. Do you please? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I'm very right about a lot of things, guys. I don't know.
Well, you are, and
You
can
actually are right
I just want to
about
throw this out there. The places where I see it, I don't judge it, and it doesn't feel to me the way that I'm sure it feels to your
Yeah.
husband.
Yeah.
Totally.
And it makes sense that in the worst moments,
Yes.
like,
Totally.
that's the part I'm not trying
Right.
to say like I see you that way. That's
Right. No, I didn't
Yeah.
take it that way.
Yeah.
And I know this about me.
I was
It's
gonna
really
say,
okay.
yeah.
All of you
Yeah, it's
guys
okay
out
to
there
own it.
listening can call in and say, you're right. You are controlling judgmental. I'll be like, yes, that is true. So
By the way, can we just put in a plug for people to call in with more questions?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, do.
Yeah.
We love your questions. Call and tell us your questions. So this is a brilliant way to understand it, though, is that because it has to happen so fast, you're probably not going to make up a new version of horrible, awful right now. You're going to fall into an old version of horrible, awful And you're going to tell yourself that story and you're going to do it in a black and white way. It's going to be all of them.
And it's going to be one that you know how to protect yourself against.
Totally. Totally. It's going to like work with how I protect myself.
Yeah.
So I have to now protect myself in this way, yada, 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 because you are like this, right? And it's totally black and white and it comes out in a character assaulty sort of way.
So here's like a little clue that you're there. When you start saying things or you start hearing things, like you never.
You are such a.
Yes. You are such a insert label. You are probably core negative image triggered.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're trying to figure out, like, how do I get through this very dangerous, hyper dangerous social situation? It's not actually dangerous, guys, but
It feels that way.
It feels that way. It's perceived that way. And sometimes it is, but I'm talking like in general, it's not actually that dangerous, but it feels like life and death level dangerous to us a lot of the time. And so we have this core negative image, and that's who I'm guessing my partner is, but it's not just who I'm guessing they are. It's that, like, my protective, adaptive, not really clear version of me has a story about their protective, adaptive, not very clear version of them.
And it may be that those stories are like filtered through these lenses, right? So I might not actually be really clearly seeing what's actually happening for my partner because I'm probably not, right? Because I'm seeing it only through the lens of this is what I need to protect against because this is what happened and this is what I know.
I'm jumping too far ahead because I'm thinking until and unless something about it changes, which
it depends.
I get it.
It does take work, and it depends. So let's be clear about it. So when this implicit memory comes up, right, and it's probably a mix of all the things you know about your long-term partner and all the things you know about everything you've ever experienced in your life and all the ways you've ever protected yourself, and you push that together, and up comes this neural network that knows this thing. And I'll tell you what, if that neural network's online, you have probably already flipped your lid. So even if a mismatch occurred, you may or may not notice it unless you have a plan to notice it.
Because you flipped your lid.
Right, because you flipped your lid.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a plan to notice it, you can often notice it and get your mismatch. But if you don't have a plan, you're never going to notice it, even if it was being disconfirmed in front of your face.
All right. So what do we mean by a plan? Let's back up.
Okay.
We've talked about this in past episodes, but let's back up.
Okay. We've talked about dead stop contracts.
No, we've talked about timeouts.
And that's different.
That's different.
Yeah. Haven't we talked about dead stop
contracts? We haven't talked about dead stop contracts, no.
Okay.
We have a new skill for you today. But I want to put a listener warning out about this new skill. I would never want to do this new skill unless I had been completely on board with my partner about the need to do this new skill, that we're going to do it together. This is not one you would do on your own. So like timeouts you can do on your own, even if your partner does not. But a dead stop contract needs agreement from both people.
Yes.
And so if you're in a situation where your relationship is feeling in really hard spaces, or you really don't have agreement that it's something you want to work on, then this one may be a skill for later on. But if you're both on board, you guys could do something called a dead stop contract, which is like one of the coolest things ever because of memory consolidation. Okay. So how much time do I have to go into the neurobiology?
Go
a little bit.
Go
a little bit.
Yeah.
Can I do a little bit? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
like we could even try to stop you if we wanted to.
You probably couldn't, right? Okay. So
because you're controlling.
I'm totally controlling. I am now going to take over the podcast. Right? So come with me on this journey through the neuroscience for just a moment. So because we have to do this so fast, it's really important that we have these emotional knowings we're leaning into, knowing what to expect when in danger, and knowing how to protect myself. And it comes up like that. So Vicky, if you just thought about it for a second and you went, hey, I know what to do when I'm in danger. You like have a certain small list of things, yes? Like with Gabe though.
I'd
Like
love to say yes, but my brain does that. Like my brain goes blank. So
that's
right
it.
now, when you say
So
that,
that's what
I'm
you
like,
do.
I have no.
See, I
okay,
just
thank
put her
you.
into danger, guys. And she went blank because that's what her system does when in danger. I know what to do. I freeze and I go blank and my eyes go really wide.
Yeah. So yes.
Totally? Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I was like, I don't know how to answer that. No, I don't know what to do. My brain
This is
goes blank.
exactly right. Totally.
So,
So
yes.
you have this lovely protective system that goes and blankness immediately.
Yeah.
Right. Now, so you don't to help that know that you could protect yourself in a different way.
I want people to see Vicky's face. Like,
Well, I have to say,
Yeah,
that
do
is
it.
so true, because he'll ask me something that's not like meant to be an attack or anything, just like a question. I mean, more than innocuous, but like a question. And he always looks at me, he's like, why can't you answer? Because I look at him, I'm like, I don't know. I literally freeze. I'm like, I need a couple minutes. I don't even know how to answer you. And he's like, I don't understand why this is complicated. That happens frequently because my brain goes blank.
Yeah. Well, your brain knows how to protect yourself.
And again, good point for me to bring up right now, from something that sometimes we don't consciously today, 2021, believe is a threat. Because again, it's not like I'm saying this even happens when we're not in the thick of it, when there's nothing going on. He'll just ask me like, why was dinner late tonight? I don't know.
And suddenly you've gone blank.
Conversation. And then suddenly I've
Totally.
gone blank. He's
You're
like,
blank
no,
and your
really.
neck is like pulling back and you're going like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the big eyes and the slight shake in your head.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. And then he's like, what the heck? And then he gets, why was dinner late? Like then it goes.
Yeah.
But it started from a simple, non-threatening place. So now you can continue to use me as the example.
I love it. So here's this lovely way you have for protecting yourself that you go blank, right? Now, that has a knowing, right? That neural network has a knowing about what to expect when in danger and how to protect me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, in order for that to learn something new, that neural network, it needs to get new information that does not align with the knowing you have, but it has to do it while it's active.
I was going to say while it's open. Yep.
Mm-hmm. While it's up and embodied.
Yeah.
Right. So here's this blank and we welcome the blank, right? And if you created a dead stop contract, what you're going to do is you're going to have your partner do something that could not possibly match up with the story you have about him inside the moment of your blank. Right. If you do it at exactly the same time and you're not too flipped yet, you'll disconfirm the network. And it shocks it. And you'll know you got it right because you'll get surprised and you'll laugh or you'll get a little dizzy or you'll get super confused. Right? And so that's got something neuroscientists have called memory reconsolidation. And basically all that's happening is you have this old neural network that knows a thing and it's always known the thing and that has never been challenged or disconfirmed in any way. But then all of a sudden, oh my gosh, disconfirmed it. And I have suddenly a moment of learning something brand new about the way the world works in the lower, more emotional, more rapid part of my brain. So I'm in love with dead stop contracts. They will change your life, but you have to have enough safety in the relationship and you have to have a deep agreement because I never want to execute a dead stop contract if it's against my system to do it. So let's imagine for a second as a controlling and judgmental person that my husband and I decided to do a dead stop contract. And in the moment, what would be great for him is if he called so usually people use like a word. So he says octopus or whatever word we've decided. So let's say he says the word, right? And then I'm supposed to go, you know what? I bet I'm not paying attention to you at all. You're totally right. Tell me again. I bet I'm not listening. I just disconfirmed his story about me. right? Now we've already agreed. Let's say we've agreed that's what would be really helpful for him. And I execute it. But let's imagine he says octopus, only I'm so hot I can't do the thing. I call a timeout. And what that means in that moment of calling the timeout is, I love you. My adaptive child's taken over. I'm not going to let her run my show. I'll be back with you soon. So in order to do a dead stop, you have to have enough awareness that I'm not going to push myself to do the thing if my heart's not really in it. And that we've already had like a meta conversation about it. So you can't really do a dead stop. But I'm thinking, unless you can have these conversations, but I'm thinking about this. When we fight, why does my partner think I'm useless, no good, unhealthy? Right. So if they had a core negative image about me being unhealthy, useless, no good, right? I might, when they call a dead stop, do something like, I'm going to take a deep breath right now and really show up for you, babe.
Bam.
And I just disconfirmed your thinking about me. But I have to have an agreement so that if I call a timeout, that's totally fine and thought of as loving.
And go ahead, Vicky.
Well, I'm also realizing we could flip this. And if that is the core negative image, let's pretend a woman called this in. I don't know. She could call octopus and he could say, you matter to me and you're healthy.
Right. Because she might have a core negative image that
he thinks it or
he
something.
thinks it or something. Right.
And so that would still disconfirm it. Like that one could go either way.
That would, well, we don't want to do a dead stop unless we're both have a dead stop agreement. So he would have one and she would have one. Right.
But I'm saying they could have a dual one about this sentence where he could still disconfirm it in case his core negative image of her is that she's useless. I'm just saying it wrong. But like, I think he could say the opposite and it would alleviate her from thinking that he thinks it.
Right. Unless he actually is thinking it in the moment, in which case it's going to bleed through in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the key here that I don't think we can emphasize enough is that there needs to be one of our favorite types, right? These meta conversations that we talk about so often. We need to be able to have that meta conversation when we're not in the thick of it, when everything is cool and calm. Like, come to our boot camp. We can do it there. We can help you with this. You'll leave boot camp with a dead stop contract, right? And so this is the kind of way that you can get into this. Like you might need help being guided towards it. You might not just get there on your own. And that guidance is the type of thing that you can get in RLT therapy. It is the kind of thing that you can get out of boot camp.
And it's also not the end of the world if you can't, because as you guys know, I don't know Gabe's core negative image of me.
He won't tell you.
He won't tell me. And that was an issue for us for months, I would say. And now it's not become a joke. I don't want to say that, but it's not an issue anymore. I'm able to laugh it off. And he has said, there's just some things that I'm not comfortable telling you. Because his big thing is he's like, you can't change it. There's nothing you can do to change it. So there's no benefit in me telling you, which piqued my curiosity.
But there is.
I know, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't. But so that like you can have a healthy marriage without it. You can have meta conversations on other stuff and you're not doomed if you can't do this like one area
thing and the great gift and the hard work of it. So this dead stop contract is like, put on your pack. You've got an oxygen tank now. This is high Everest level peaking. Right. This takes training. And it is the way you could potentially heal your past inside of your current relationship.
Yes. And can I take us one level further?
Of course you can.
Just in holding this space here, what I've noticed as my partner and I are working our shit out in our relationship is that our understanding of what that CNI is keeps evolving. Like it's like an onion. We keep going into deeper and deeper layers. And the better we get at holding each other there with safety, the deeper we go. Yeah.
And the deeper we go into vulnerability and the deeper we go into intimacy. But this is the hard climbing part. So one thing to be really honest with yourself about is what kind of marriage you want. Because the views from Base Camp 4 are amazing. There's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
It's even a little hard to breathe there.
It's a little hard to breathe here. There are bigger peaks if you want them,
Yeah.
but they take a lot of work and they only happen for a little bit. And then you got to come back down.
Yeah.
Should we leave it?
I'm so moved
that's a
by
great
that,
place.
Everest. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Love each other best you can, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
That wraps up this week's episode. Join us again next week for another Why Does My Partner?
We hope that you continue to listen wherever you get your audio and that you'll follow the show.
To go deeper, join us at our boot camp. You'll find the next date at whydoesmypartner.com.
Did you know you could ask us your question?
Your questions are relational gold.
Go to whydoesmypartner.com to either write in or record your question for a future episode.